When it comes to a new platform, especially in the world of ecom, where there's so many variables of what can go wrong, it can be pretty intimidating, right? I get confused even when I touch platforms like Facebook, TikTok, just because it's not my world. It's not where I spent my time, my expertise. So it's not necessarily shameful to not be able to get through those little tiny battles. It's just where you're not spending your time. It's not where you focus your experience. So what I want to do in this video is talk a little bit about the different areas we see generally store owners get stuck when it comes to really just thinking they can't run Google Ads. And you'd be surprised how small the issues are sometimes. And that's not necessarily, like I said, to shame you guys. It's just a matter of how easily you can resolve them so you can start making more money for your store. We've seen stores that have done 7, even 8 figures on their store that haven't touched Google just because they thought that their products weren't eligible. They had policy issues, and a lot of times it was a simple day or two to get through that. So I'm gonna go over the most common, and you can kind of see if you are having one of these issues, what we necessarily would do to solve them and how to get through them so you can start running Google Ads yourself. Number one is gonna be general policies. When it comes to policies, a lot of the times there can be really simple things like circumventing systems, misrepresentation, unacceptable business practices. There's a lot of random little policies that can pop up in the account that will just completely suspend your account without a lot of the times logic as to why it might hit. And sometimes the short answer is the platform is just tweaking. We've seen Google Ads just have heavy glitches and suspend campaigns and accounts for absolutely no reason. And it could just take a small, quick manual review or automatic review to get past that. But a lot of the times there isn't always a reason they might trigger. Sometimes the bots that Google uses to crawl just kind of get confused. So the first step you can do anytime you get a policy is one, ask for a review. A lot of times it's going to be automatic, sometimes it's manual, but that's going to tell you really quick, was it just a system glitch? If it absolutely looks like a system glitch and there's not an actual reason as to why it should be showing, then you can open a ticket. It may take a couple days, not the worst process in the world, but you don't want to burn extra days when you don't have to. And then the very last thing you can do is if you're seeing these bizarre issues and you can't get through them, then you're going to want to just ditch the account. We do this all the time. If just for some reason the account seems plagued and you can't get through the policy issue, even though there's no reason it should be triggering, just ditch it and open up a new one. Sometimes when you open a new account, you'll get circumventing policies. And what that means is Google is trying to say you cannot have more than one account for the same business. A lot of the times that won't trigger, but if that does trigger, then you can get past it with a simple ticket. Or if you really can't get past it, then you can go to the extreme of opening up a new account with a new domain, a new credit card, and a new business entity, which is going to completely separate from the old account and not have any common denominators for Google to flag across. That is really like worst case scenario. And we have done that for clients, which has let them open up a 6 or 7 figure channel for their business. But a lot of times you don't have to go to that step. Most of the time it's going to go away with a simple review or just hopping account and starting a new account. Number 2 are going to be product disapprovals. This is a tricky one because sometimes you don't know this is happening. Like for example, you could start a PMAX campaign and have it run, but what happens is on the back end, the products aren't actually showing. So what you want to do is if you're running the account and you see the product feed in your shopping campaign, your PMAX campaign, you go to the products and you see disapprovals, then what you're going to want to do is go to your Merchant Center. Merchant Center is going to be the platform that really carries over the product data from the store over to the Google Ads platform. It's also where you're going to see details on like disapprovals, what's happening with the products, if certain ones are flagged. And within that system, you'll be able to see the drop downs for each one, what's happening for them. A lot of the times people have issues with shipping policies. If you're having issues with shipping policies, you really just have to go in there and figure out what's being triggered. Most of the time it's the shipping details and information in the merchant account don't match what's on the store, or pricing for the products on the store don't match what's in the Merchant Center account. And you really just want to make sure that everything matches up. And then what's going to happen is it'll start pushing the feed over to Google and let you run it. So if you're having issues with product disapprovals, go to the Merchant Center and figure out what the actual disapproval is. Like I said, 90% of the time, it's going to be the information within the feed not matching the store, which is going to shut down everything. But you'll get details there and you'll know how to solve it based off of the details you get. If it's ever anything very confusing, you can always reach out to us and I can let you know how we get past it. But most of the time it's pretty simple. Next is really just going to be feed management along with tracking, which usually happen together in apps that you can get on Shopify. The biggest issue people have is when they actually stack in multiple feeds and tracking within the same store to the actual Google Ads account. And what could happen is you could have double or triple attribution. So if you have multiple apps feeding tracking data back to the actual Google Ads account, then you could be doubling or tripling the actual conversion data that goes into your ad account, which makes things look a lot better than they actually are. So one thing you want to know is whenever you're running Google Ads, go to the conversions and make sure you have one single primary conversion, which is going to be conversion value based off purchases. Everything else should be secondary. You only ever want one purchase conversion value running into the Google Ads account. But the best app that we've seen, that we've used for years, they have an amazing support team, I don't have any affiliation with them, is gonna be the Shopify app Process. It does a great job with tracking accuracy and also with feed management. And if you ever have issues there, even on the actual product disapproval side, they'll come in and help you. So highly recommend, if you don't have an app yet, stay away from the Google native app, go in, download Process and hook that up through the store. Fourth is going to be a really interesting one, which is going to be launch phase and the trust process of a new account. Now, sometimes what happens is you can launch new campaigns and put your budget at $10,000 a day, but it still won't spend. You can tell Google you want to spend all the money in the world, but they will not let you spend a penny. So the biggest thing that's happening here is it's this behind the scenes kind of trust process that Google's doing to vet your account, campaigns, and ads to make sure there's not anything spammy going on, circumventing systems, anything that could really make Google think you're trying to harm or cheat the system. And that usually will take 2 to 3 days at most on average. But there's been situations where an account just won't run ads for like 2 weeks just for zero reason. You have to do all these crazy troubleshooting methods. So point being is if your account's not spending, it doesn't mean it'll never spend. It usually is just a matter of time of a couple days. Sometimes people will run campaigns, see they're not spending for 2 or 3 days, shut off the campaigns and then never touch Google again. But you have to give it its time to do this kind of behind the scene check. But once it does that check, you'll start seeing a couple of impressions go through. And then once it starts getting a few impressions, it'll scale up to spend over the next day or two. So give it the time it needs. There's not really any way around this. If it does not spend over a few days, that's when you can start making tweaks. A lot of the times what we'll do is just open up targeting and budget to where it's super broad. It makes it as easy as possible for the platform to spend. And then once it starts spending, crack down again, change everything to phrase match, reduce the budget a little bit, but it kind of kicks into gear faster. But we only really ever do that if we're having the issue where campaigns won't spend for, let's say, 4 or 5 days plus. Most of the time it will spend before there. Just know if it does not spend, it's not you, it's the platform, and you just got to give it time. And there's not any way around it, unfortunately. And the last topic, which is going to be a bigger topic, I won't go super in depth of it because the premise of it's pretty simple, but the way you execute on all the different variables within this world is going to be a whole nother video. And that's going to be quality score. When it comes to quality score in an account, this is a huge factor because it dictates how often Google's going to show your ads and your campaigns and how high it'll let you scale, along with how much it charges you for traffic. So sometimes if you put in a poorly built campaign without highly relevant assets and everything's not aligned, you'll get very poor results off the bat. So my point in talking about this really is if you're gonna run a campaign on Google Ads, make sure, even if you don't have the best assets in the world, things are segmented well, there's assets relevant to what you're targeting, and then landing pages or product pages relevant to the traffic going to those pages. And you really take the time to put that together, because if you just slap stuff together, you're gonna have an awful launch, you're gonna waste a bunch of money, and you're not gonna touch the platform again. So even if you can't, let's say, run a full Google Ad strategy, run at least that one campaign you have the assets for and let it feed itself. And then what you'll see is actually, okay, I have a campaign that's scaling a bit, Google's starting to pay for itself. Let's develop some more assets unique to the other campaigns, more for this campaign, and start really building out the strategy and scaling it properly instead of trying to take shortcuts and just making everything broad, throwing all the targeting together, all the assets together. It's just not how the platform works. Facebook generally will figure it out. Google will not figure it out. It'll just spend your money regardless, even if you're not making money. So make sure, like I said, if you're gonna run Google Ads, stick to what you can run. Don't just run everything at once just because you can throw stuff in there. It's just gonna basically discourage you and make you lose money. So if you have any specific questions about any reason your account won't run, things that you're afraid about running Google Ads for, feel free to drop a comment below. I'll put in specifically how we would get past that for our clients. Make sure to like and subscribe. We always appreciate that big time. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video.